All right, thank you. My name is Thato Sekgoele. I'm a postgraduate student in the University of Johannesburg Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment, doing my postgraduate in data science. I'm also involved in various youth policy making within engineering and the built environment. And then also particularly with regards to Africa, I believe in the Into philosophy, which is the root of our African culture in how we respect each other and how we are because of the ways in how we relate with each other, our cultural norms, and also our spiritual interconnectedness and the ways in which we connect to make life livity. So, as a part of my youth endeavors, I'm involved in various policy that seeks to advance our cultural intelligence so that we are able to have a meaningful way of us connecting, sharing, and enabling our ways of Ubuntu, our ways of the Ubuntu to be able to have a seamless connection, body, mind, and spirit, so that we are able to move from where we are to where we want to be. By that meaning that by abiding to some laws of harmony, we are able to grow and manifest our ways and be able to build each other, invest in our meaningful interaction, and have the intelligence to grow together so that we have a meaningful relation that seeks to share love, compassion, and overall healthness, well-being. So that is some of the initiative that I am part and parcel of. And then I'm also involved in martial arts uh, to be able to have a balanced, synchronous energy that will be able to help me focus and make sound decisions within various aspects that I take part in, particularly within the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That is where mostly my activities are vested in. I am also willing and able to learn other ways of doing things, particularly in the humanitarian space, as I am mostly vested in the technical science of approaching life, which makes it rational. And then there are other things that I have to also be considerate of, such as EQ and the cultural intelligence, social intelligence, and overall how the community engagement intelligence is able to bring us together to share love and happiness through the word.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's very beautiful. Thank you so much again for introducing yourself. I can see you are a person who loves to discover, and you also love to just being out there to experience more new challenges. I would say in a way to gain the knowledge and gain the wisdom, which you might also be sharing with any other person who will be watching this. Video, and at the same time it will also help your family and your loved ones and your community. We have currently majority of our youth, they tend to tell themselves, oh, I'm going to school, I'm going to educate myself for me to find a job, I'm going to send myself in a training so that I may be hired by a person who is in a higher position. We don't disagree to that. But then we want to also see an Africa that have people or the youth that has dreams, that have life purposes, and which we tend to, we don't encounter such among the African community. So what do you think, as your point of view, as a person who's also a youth, and you are also busy surrounded by many of them, especially being a student at the UJ University? So what do you think is the future of Africa if our youth seem to have no life purposes?
Where our attention goes, that is where our energy flows. So our energy needs to speak a language of creation. We have to push the envelope of creation through various types of engagement, through music, through culture, through our food, through our elders, through our traditions. And we need to understand that we are wired differently and we see things differently. To have a constructive view of the youth of Africa, we need to understand where we're coming from. We need to understand our position in life. We need to understand our birthright, and then we need to have a succinct understanding of where is it that we want to see ourselves. What will the future generation say about our way of doing things? We need to be accountable for our actions as our thoughts bring forth our motion in words, and words is our deeds from how we meet a moment of truth. Moment of truth requires us to be able to have a decolonial aspect of ourselves. We need to look at how do we decolonize and shed the things that have made us to be aligned with the things that are not championing our way of living. So that speaks to the decolonization of our mindset. That is where we need to start and look into how we are constructed to be able to construct the Africa that we want, that is reflective of its rich minerals, rich culture, rich footprint that is embedded since time immemorial, and then that has been passed down from ancient soul technology for us to be able to carry the torch and be a representative of where the human of cradle has been a footprint for the development that we see. So we have to take part in a constructive life that seeks to speak how we can engineer certain ways of us coming together to live in harmony, to find an equilibrium of how are we advancing ourselves. To advance society, we need to advance ourselves. Before that, we also need to advance our thinking. Our thinking may be wired by different aspects of Western hegemony or Eastern hegemony. We need to also look into what are those configurations that have brought and have taken what is of value from the roots and has suspended us with things that are very much artificial. We live in an instant gratification world where it's a quick fix gimmicks so that we gratify our senses. We seek for validation, we seek for belonging, we seek to be accepted. But when we look deeper into our thoughts, we are able to remember that from ancient soul technology, we are beings that are brought into light by our initial thoughts that tends to move and create life that is building, investing, and looking at ways of how we can harmonize the Ntu, which is Batho Pele, or looking at Ubuntu, or looking at our traditional ways. So, as young people, we need to understand our stance with this growth that is happening. What does it mean to grow? Growth means that we need to evolve with our thinking, we need to evolve with our heritage, we need to evolve with certain ways of doing things that will make us to tread in the right direction. There is a good author that has a book that mentioned Ngoku Thiongo, decolonization of the mind. When we're looking at decolonization of the mind, we're looking at some aspects that will shape our views into unlearning our old ways of doing things, relearning what is relevant for us to be able to move from where we are to where we want to be. We need to look at what are the factors and characteristics of us that will shape where we are to where we want to be. With that comes the laws that we live by, our philosophies that shape us, our cultural views, and our normative ways of interrelating and relating with each other by building strong relations that have a solid foundation. So, with regards to the youth, there is a saying in a vernacular, particularly in our uh, nine indigenous language, which say "rutam banadi taula." So the elders must be able to pass down wisdom through disciplined succession to the youth, so that they are able to understand where we're coming from, where we are, and where we are headed, so that we have a clear and distinct direction that we need to tread. So when we are doing that, we need to also take various conscious decisions that will shape our livelihood, that will make the youth to be the fathers of tomorrow, the husbands of tomorrow, build a family, and also understand that when we are united, we stand stronger, and we form the pillars of a community, of households, of a nation, and we represent something great that has ingenuity, that has integrity, that is able to have a long lasting effect in how we leave a long lasting legacy through what we are doing now and what is our valuable input into a constructive society, into a constructive citizen, into a constructive uh, individual, into a constructive youth, that we have to take responsibility for our action as they will reflect in tomorrow's decisions in how we are shaping our lives and shaping the lives of others that are within our immediate reach, that are with our peers within various aspects of technology, education, institution, and also our communities and families where we come from.
Wow.
As the youth, we need to also be independent, meaning that we have to seek solutions that are tailor made for our unique circumstances, that will be able to elevate us from where we are to where we want to be. So we need to have a fellowship that will be able to clearly move with certain philosophical deliberations that the youth of today must uphold and express through sharing love and happiness and sharing knowledge that will be building our body, mind, and also building society to advance in various ways, economically, socially, and also structurally. We need to also respect ourselves, respect our elders, respect our community members. We need to value humanity. We need to show gratitude with regards to our ways of doing things, particularly that is passed down from our elders through generation or disciplic succession. We need to also understand the ramification of the past instances that has transpired to the culmination of where we are right now as youth. We need to represent a deliberate philosophy that is inclusive of how we make decisions that have positive impact into the livelihood of our peers moving forward. We have a strong and rich footprint, and then with that comes a lot of accountability and responsibility, particularly in nation building, in community building, in family building, and overall in conscious building for our individual wellness being. Because of as youth, we need to understand that we will be the leaders that will be taking effective decisions in the near future. We need to understand that there are ways in how we need to be conscious of what is clearly representing our ways, what is representative of our vision of where we want to be, and then how do we get there. So that is a vision that needs careful deliberation on how we can be able to, as youth of Africa, look at ways of how we come together to form a meaningful culture, a meaningful society that looks internally for solutions that will be able to develop some of the sustainable ways that will prolong generational disciplic succession.
Wow.
So we have a lot of work to do as youth. Mm-hmm. So we have the energy, we have the time, and we definitely have the mindset that is ready to uphold and move society forward with a clear vision of where we want to be, what is the continent that we want for ourselves, what is the nation that we want for ourselves, what is the kind of economy that we want for ourselves, what is the kind of culture that we already practicing. We need to go back to our roots and understand that the roots fit us and then we do not fit the roots, so that the ways in which we approach, it doesn't have to be a dichotomy, but it has to be a complementary approach where there is a neutral force, which it is not positive or negative, but it is neither for or against, but works in complete whole for the unification of the dichotomies that we are faced with. So that is one aspect of youth that is should be able to consider. And then the other is looking at policy making. Youth should be involved in policy making because of policy determines the kind of laws or bylaws that will govern the country that we live in. So with that, policy is important that the youth take part in it, and then they're able to shape the way of us understanding what affects us economically, socially, what affects us politically, what affects us as a humanity, so that we come up with solutions that are able to clearly express our vision, and we embark on that direction that will clearly make us realize our vision and our intended goals for our communities, for our nation, and lastly, our continent.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you
So
so
that
much.
is
Actually, you have actually just answered and just spoke of many things. You spoke of the vision of Africa and the vision of the future of Africa, which is carried out by our African youth. And at the same time, you have also spoken about, you shared on how the youth need to go to their roots in a way to gain the knowledge, to gain the wisdom, which will benefit them in carrying out their vision, the vision that will bring also unity, and also at the same time re-educate what is, what we have lost touch with, and also gain new insight into how we can grow our community, grow our our ways of lives, and also at the same time grow our Africa. So at the same time, I would say you also covered up the next question, which was to how to re-educate our youth. So you spoke on how the roots are there to feed the youth, and not the youth who needs to go and feed the roots. So this becomes also our history, which is also us going back to researching about ourselves, understanding first who we are and what knowledge did our greatest great elders have in a way for us to proceed forward.